eve of the feast of Christ the King, the youth of Galilee gathered in the Salesian school Jesus the Adolescent in Nazareth to reflect on the theme of vocation. In the humble chapel of the convent of the Sisters of the Rosary in Jerusalem, the celebration of one of the first Arab saints brought together Christians from Jerusalem and the Holy Land. Jalal Khaleh, Palestinian artist, paints real works of art on glass. This work of art is unique throughout the West Bank. The mosaics of Hisham Palace in Jericho will be uncovered for a few weeks. Everyone will be able to admire the largest mosaic work of the Middle East. Near Jerusalem and the Dead Sea, the Judean desert has preserved archaeological treasures and precious testimonies of religious life for centuries. What should I do with my life? What does God want from me? To reflect on these questions, 100 young people of Galilee gathered on November 19 in the school Jesus the Adolescent of Nazareth on the feast of Christ the King.
واليوم اشتركت بهذا اللقاء عشان يعني كمان الموضوع إنه يسوع الملك.
Today I came to this meeting because it is the feast of Christ the King, and I believe that He gives us a special blessing on every single feast of the Church. I came here because I want Jesus to be the King of my life. I'm also reflecting on God's calling and on how we young people can discover our vocation in the Church.
بحب كل الوقت أشارك بهيك برامج عشان كمان هذا الإشي بخليني أسمع صوت يسوع لحياتي.
The third edition of the annual Youth Festival organized by the Latin Vicariate of Nazareth was dedicated to the theme of vocation.
الشباب والصبايا بحاجة إنه يتعرفوا على يسوع.
Young people need to know Jesus and have a goal in life for their future. Vocation is to listen to the voice of God and walk hand in hand with Him to fulfill the purpose that He has designed for each one of them. We chose this theme to help them discern God's voice and help them understand where to direct their own lives.
اخترنا هذا الموضوع عشان الشباب والصبايا يعرفوا كيف يقدروا يميزوا صوت الله لوين بده يوجههم في مسيرة حياتهم.
The program included catechesis and reflection, followed by several artistic workshops through which the young participants were able to express their experience and their thoughts.
عيد يسوع الملك فانه كثير عيدنا احنا الشبيبه فبنتعرف على بعض الشبيبه اكثر وكمان انه دائما موجودين بنعمه يسوع بين بعض.
The feast of Christ the King is our feast, the feast of the youth. We come here to know each other and to receive the grace of Jesus. I have tried to give more than to receive. I worked in the group of dance and I helped others. Here in the church we have a few vocations. Many religious missionaries come from abroad, but we need more vocations within the Arab society.
عرب خوارني فلازم يصير في دعوة لازم تزيد الدعوة بالمجتمع العربي.
In the middle of the day and at the center of this journey, as the culmination of the dialogue between the youth and Jesus, Monsignor Bulas Marcuso, vicar of the Latin Patriarchate for Israel, celebrated a joyful and lively Mass.
كل إشي بالحياة له أساس.
Everything in life has a foundation. I need this foundation to be able to go out there and become someone. I need a foundation even to realize that I need a foundation, and for me, the foundation is Christ. I believe I must follow His footsteps, come to church, listen to what the priest says, listen to his advice and ideas for the youth, his suggestions on how we should behave. I like to listen to this message.
حتى أبني أساس قوي.
On the Church of the Holy Land's 2017 calendar, there is now a new anniversary, a celebration dedicated to Marie Alphonsine, one of the first Arab saints who was canonized by Pope Francis this past May. The liturgical feast, which falls on November 19, was celebrated at the convent of the Sisters of the Rosary in Jerusalem. The sisters attended the Mass, presided over by the Auxiliary Bishop of Jerusalem, Monsignor William Schmali, the Apostolic Nuncio, Monsignor Giuseppe Lazzarato, religious communities, and local Christians.
To celebrate her feast every year in Jerusalem for us is a source of joy and hope. Joy because she belongs to us. She came from among us, and hope, because we are called to do like her, to walk in the path of holiness, and her good example is the best encouragement for us.
Among the faithful present, this Arab woman from Jerusalem inspires a special kind of gratitude. In 2003, the Nathali family received the miracle that has contributed to Alfonsine's beatification process.
My mother received a visit from 2 of the Sisters of the Rosary, who gave her a book on the life of Marie Alphonsine. She was reading the book, and that week she had a bad feeling. She prayed to Mother Mary Alphonsine, asking her to protect her children. That same night, there was a birthday party in a neighbor's yard.
Suddenly, during the partim, a sinkhole opened up in the ground, and everyone, including Natali, fell into a pit about 4 meters deep, but no one was hurt.
When we got home and the doctor who visited saw that we were all right, my mother said, "This morning I prayed to Marie Alphonsine, and I think what just happened was a miracle."
Marie Alphonsine was born in Jerusalem in the mid-19th century, and at the age of 17 she entered a religious congregation. A few years later she started to have visions of the Virgin Mary, who asked her to found a new order to take care of Arab women. The Sisters of the Rosary continue their mission to this day by promoting the role of women in society in education and healthcare in several countries throughout the Middle East.
She is our founder, and we waited for her canonization for a long time. However, the important thing for us is to understand how we can continue her mission. This is our responsibility before God, the world, and the Church. Do we always live according to His way? Do we protect our Christian and religious principles in ourselves despite the passage of time? Indeed, I can say that the seed has not changed.
والمبادئ الرهبانية اختلفت، لا البذور بعدها.
With a brush and colors, Ja'al Khaleh, a talented Palestinian artist, in his small laboratory in Ramallah transforms simple pieces of glass into real works of art that are used to enhance the decorations of churches and homes. I began painting pictures. Later I became gradually interested in glass. My focus switched from portraits to painting on glass. I developed my work through research on the internet until I was able to create real stained glass. An artist who, despite his physical condition, still managed to develop his talent, Ja'al's art has become his profession and is typical of some European countries but unique in the West Bank. Glass painting is a very ancient art used to decorate churches and even homes. This type of art dates back to the Middle Ages. Ja'al works with his father Jack, pastor of the Melkite Greek church in Taipei, to impress upon these simple pieces of glass designs of sacred art. In this way, this artist donates his art to give life to works where matter, light, and color become an instrument to the gospel message. Ja'al Khaleh is an old friend I have known for over 25 years. We work together, I give him the drawings and he puts them on the glass. His art inspires meditation as well as prayer.
التأمل والتعمق في الصلاة والإيمان. في الطيبة عم بنرمم الكنيسة بعد 50 سنة بناء.
In Taipei, we are restoring the church 50 years after its construction. We have therefore decided to change the old church windows with new ones that depict the symbols of our Christian faith. Crosses, anchors, bunches of grapes, ears of corn, chalices, and other Christian images that provide the proper atmosphere for believers to meditate on the mystery of salvation and on Christian life.
الجو المناسب اللي يتأمل فيه سر الخلاص وحياته المسيحية على الأرض.
827 square meters, 38 panels, 1,300 years of history, a numerical puzzle that describes only part of the magic and the mystery of the mosaics of Hisham Palace in Jericho. The mosaic floor, the largest in the Middle East and one of the most important and largest of the world, was uncovered in late October after being covered under a protective layer of soil for many years. The carpet mosaic is composed of 38 panels. Each of them represents mainly geometric shapes and various designs. At the end, in the Diwan, there is a mosaic called the Tree of Life. The Diwan is the place where the Caliph used to welcome the most prestigious visitors. Before its construction was completed, the Hisham Palace was largely destroyed by the earthquake of 747. No one was aware of what was left under the rubble. Between 1930 and 1935, during the British Mandate, a mission led by the English and Palestinian archaeologists Robert Hamilton and Dmitry Baramki uncovered the mosaic floor, which was later covered with soil for preservation purposes. In 2001, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities of Palestine began restoration and analytical work. In 2010, the carpet mosaic was covered again, but this time with insulating materials, until construction of a protective roof is completed. On October 20, in exceptional circumstances, the mosaics were uncovered only for a few weeks. Fans and visitors from around the world will have to wait until the conclusion of the construction of the roof, expected to be concluded in 2 years, to be able to admire the carpet mosaic. A place away from urbanization, suitable for meditation and silence, completely arid areas which alternate with lush oases. The desert of Judea preserves natural and historical riches. Along the way, we were able to observe a special combination. On one side, desert landscapes, and on the other, the Dead Sea. This is the lowest point on Earth, about 400 meters below sea level. Peaks acquire different colors and shapes every time, rock formations carved by time. In addition to preserving the unsurpassed natural beauty, the site has also treasured a collection of manuscripts of the Bible whose finding is considered one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. In the Qumran archaeological site 40 kilometers from Jerusalem, scrolls of all the Old Testament books except that of Esther were found. These texts, known as the Dead Sea Scrolls, date back to the 3rd century BC and the 1st century of the Christian era. The first accidental discovery of the scrolls was made by a young Bedouin in 1947. For the first time, we are in possession of ancient documents dating back to before Jesus' birth. These manuscripts document the creed of a Jewish group who lived in an era previous to the Christian influence. This is a very important discovery. The excavations, directed by the French School of Biblical and Archaeological Research, lasted until 1956. About 930 fragments of Bible manuscripts in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, hidden there by a group of Jews, were discovered in the 11 caves. The Essenes, having heard of the arrival of the Roman soldiers, took the most important scrolls from their libraries, put them into jars, and then hid them in the nearest caves. Later, they went to take refuge in the desert. Some went to Masada. In addition to guarding the scrolls, the Judean desert has preserved some chapters of the history of religious life. Being a secluded place, it has attracted monks and hermits who wanted to devote themselves to a life of contemplation. In this wilderness lies the Marsaba Monastery. Built in the 4th century, it is one of the oldest monasteries in the world.
Silence and solitude gives you possibility to leave the vanity of the life
Silence and solitude allow us to forget the vanities of the world and to focus on the truly important things.
Sufferings of people, death,
People's suffering, death, and judgment, salvation. I can honestly say that by moving away from the community and by living in the desert, we feel more in tune and closer to men than we would feel if we were in the world.
connected and closer to our people than we were in the world.
The monastery built by Sant Saba preserves ancient traditions. One of them is the no entry to women, who can only enter what is called the Women's Tower. St. John Damascene, a doctor of the Church who laid the foundations of Christian theology, lived here. The monastic complex was built in the Kidron Valley in the West Bank west of Bethlehem. Part of the great structure was built on the almost embedded top on the mountain slopes.
Sometimes I hear that kind of opinion that
Some people think that monks flee from the world and live only for themselves, divorced from reality. In truth, this view is totally wrong. We leave the world just physically, reaching a communion with men and with the world itself greater than the one we would achieve if we stayed in the world.
to be more with people and more with the world than we can be being inside.
Place of refuge, escape from the world, contact with God. The Judean rocky and desert hills with the beautiful landscapes and the treasures of history and spirituality still attract tourists and pilgrims.
The mission of the Christian Media Center is to bring the message of the Holy Land, the land of the fifth gospel, to the world. Broadcasts, reports, news, documentaries, the latest happenings in the church and of the daily life of Christians in the Holy Land. You can help us in this mission, raising awareness and spreading the message of the Holy Land. Help us. Visit our website,